This is a short presentation uh, in regard to the Amt Duat book, Volume 1, that was produced last year. As people have been reading it, there are two things that I'd like to express that will help to answer some questions. The first term is hieroglyphs physics. This is a term that I came up with. Well, let me read the footnote. Heiroglyphs physics is a term coined by Sehu Kepa for this book to explain the nature, properties, mechanics, and relationship of terms and symbols within a single word, phrase, or narrative of the Amt Duat of ancient Egyptian writing, and includes writings of a pyramid nature, coffin nature, papyrus nature, or monument nature, and other artifacts which contain Egyptian hieroglyphs. So I came up with this term, I coined this term to explain how when the hieroglyphs are put together in certain writings, you don't find it in all writings, but in certain writings, the placement of the glyphs are a kind of a geometry, and they have a physics perspective. And so to get a sort of like a deeper teaching of what is being presented in the glyphs, you can read when you go through the physics of it, it kind of expands on the theme of whatever the glyphs say. So that's why I use the term hieroglyphs physics. So I had to come up with a term to try to explain this phenomenon of the writings when they're put down on medium, such as coffins. So you have the pyramid texts, you have coffin texts, you have papyrus texts. The pyramid texts are writings that appear in the smaller pyramids as Saqqara. Coffin texts are inscriptions that are written on coffins. And papyrus texts, which is like a refined distillation of the literature, is found on papyrus paper. And also you find this phenomenon on monumental texts as well. And that's like in temples and in metaphysical devices, what are commonly referred to as tombs as well. And the Amt Duat text, when it's looked at in situ in its original state within the devices, which are commonly referred to as tombs, what we refer to them as metaphysical devices, which is another term that I came up with to try to explain what these so-called tombs are. They're really temples and chapels, but they're really kind of like machines for the soul. Which temples are as well. So these devices, within these devices, you find this kind of relation of the text with the pictograph. You go through the text, it's a kind of a physics or mechanics. It has certain properties that informs the totality of what is being presented. And the presentation is, by the sages and saints. of ancient times that we now have the RU to go through. So that's one. The next one, let's see. I'm gonna stop share and go to the second term. So to okay. So we'll go back to the share. And here we're looking directly at the text and these designations. When you get the book, you'll find out what these designations mean. So we're going to look at MP2 TL6 and MP2 TL7. And we'll do the MP2 PP6 and MP2 PP7. Uzi kepara anin iu mejad iu shao egur ariti. Keri un zeno sa eru anin. This causes a transformation of the personality in which they have developed the appropriate continence, demeanor, and maturity, which brings them to the status where the personality is appointed to and shown the way to the darkness. You are to fall through the aperture of time in a moment of time. That is to say, I'm going to highlight this as the object of the discussion. That is to say, penetrate the effects of time and fall through its force of delusion. For those who have done this and have succeeded, it has brought to them irrefutable knowledge of the illusory nature of time as it appears conceptually as a construct of illusory space. By falling through time, they realize the temporality of space and thus the realization of time as a construct of the mind and illusion. This brings to them great wisdom and irrefutable knowledge of the nature of spiritual enlightenment. This process has been brought on, though, and then it continues. But this phraseology, that is to say, I use this to came up with this sort of a literary mechanism, that is to say, to expand on the concept that is being expressed. So fall through the aperture of time in a moment of time is the precursor to what comes after, that is to say. So the precursor is sort of like a distillation. And after, that is to say, is an expansion of the distillation. And I do that because it is almost, not in all cases, but it's almost enough to say, fall through the aperture of time in a moment of time. But what does that actually mean in the total context of the text of what is being presented? So I use this term, that is to say, to expand on that idea and to bring it forth in a whole way and add other elements of the text. So for example, Hiru, enlightenment, appears after the precursor down here. So that's what I was saying. It's almost enough to say what comes before the term, that is to say, but it's not fully, it's almost, it's not the full, the full expression of what the precursor has said. So I use that is to say, sort of a literary device to augment the precursor and to expand on the precursor. Because the precursor itself is a sort of a kind of an elevated expression of the teaching. So what does fall through the aperture of time in a moment of time actually mean? And that's why the that is to say comes in and then expands on the whole idea of the philosophy. And it goes on and on and on. So this was just a short presentation to go through these mechanisms, these literary mechanisms that I developed to go through the Amt Duat text. And you can still get the, the volume 2 should be coming out soon, and you can still order the volume 1 from the website. Okay, so Duat for listening. I hope this answered some questions for you, and we'll continue from there. Okay, Duat. Good time.